Okay, can you switch on your cameras, please? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you put a thumbs up? Kiran, can you hear me? Okay. So today is the first class. Okay. So most important, I want to make sure you hear me because this is online. So can you, Tan, can you, Pang, I can't see you. So we have a very small number. Okay.
Sir,
yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Because can I just turn on later? Because right now I'm having my lunch.
Okay, fine.
And yeah, sorry. Thanks.
Okay, after your lunch, you switch on. Right? I've got to move because only 1 hour lecture.
All right.
We only have 1 hour lecture a week. Okay. So I've already put up many things on the times. Okay. So now I'm going to share my screen and go to times so that we quickly go through that. I don't want to waste time on that. So can you see my screen? Times? Can you see?
Yes.
Okay. So because I like I said, we only have 1 hour lecture a week. This is Thursday 1 to 2. So really got to go fast lah, because otherwise takut cannot finish lah. So the timetable is there, and then the MI module information is all here. The study guide is there. Module calendar, the important dates, please pay attention, go to the module calendar. And then this, I created this because in the past we had 30 over students, but now so far I see only 4 people. So possibly there'll be just one group lah. Okay, if it remains at this number, then there'll be just one group lah. So maybe I didn't realize that. Okay, so all the module information, and then the other thing very important, which I'll tell you today, I won't be repeating. You need to install AI Proctor. Okay, so we will try as quickly as possible to conduct use this during our tutorial. Our tutorial, I think you all know by now, the timetable is face-to-face. Okay, it will be in campus. Go to the timetable and check it. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's on Wednesday. Okay, Wednesday on campus, face-to-face. So that's the first thing. AI Proctor, the one I leave it to you. Like any problem, technical issue, and so on and so forth, you can direct go to ICT lah. Go to ICT and ask them. Let's say you cannot install, or you got problem with that, you go to ICT. Okay. So like I said, as quickly as possible, I will start to use the answer tutorial question using this platform. So that when coming to final exam, you're familiar with it, so we don't need to have any drama at that time. Okay. So any questions so far? I know I apologize. I know I'm really speaking fast, but I would like to get through a few slides before the time is up. So any questions? Please ask. Otherwise, I will assume that there are no questions and keep moving. Emily, any questions? Emily? I can't hear you. Can you unmute?
No, sir.
Okay. How about you, Pang? Can you unmute? Okay, since everything is going to be online for final exam, so whatever issues you have in relation to your laptop and so on and so forth, you got to sort this out. Okay. Don't want to spend time talking about this after this. So if there are no further questions, then I will keep moving. All right. Okay, so information is already here on times. You have the timetable, you have the module information booklet, you have the study guide and calendar. And like I said, it looks like there's only 4 people, so there may not be a need to put the details in this Google spreadsheet. Okay, we will see how it goes. Then this AI Proctor is not just for PSA, every subject in the School of Accounting and Finance for coming SAM, the final exam will be on this platform, AI Proctor. So it will be beneficial if you get the hang of it faster, so that we don't have any problems. Okay, any technical issues, the sooner you identify, like some people they are using a Apple kind of laptop and so on and so forth. So there are some technical issues. So technical issues, you can go to the ICT and sort it out. Okay, so that is done. Okay, and then the other thing is regarding disclaimer page. This is in relation to the diversity lah. I don't think we're going to have that issue. Like I said, there's only 4 of you, 3 Chinese and 1 Indian. So if the number remains at this, then I don't see any problem with diversity issue. Okay. In any case, as a matter of policy, that is our policy. There must be diversity, as in gender, ethnic, domestic, international students. So for now, based on just 4, I don't think that we're going to be an issue. All right. So the other important thing is the textbook. Okay, this is the textbook. You can see my cursor there. Okay, this is the textbook. I have requests from last sem students, about 6 of them. They want to sell the book, their textbook. Okay, so maybe you can talk to them directly and bargain the price and so on and so forth. But if you go to Shopee and buy, it's about 48 ringgit. Okay, this is if you get it from the online platform. But like I just said, about half a dozen students from last time have contacted me. They would like to sell their textbook. So I will give you their details. I will send it to you by email. Okay, so you can check your email. I'll give you their name, their phone number. You can contact them directly to get the textbook. But yes, for this subject, it's a reading subject, you're going to need a textbook. Okay, so you can get it secondhand, no worries. Most important, you have a textbook. Okay, so I will share their names and their phone number details. I'll send it through email. Also, I have created a group on Teams chat group. I hope you saw that just now earlier. So all my communication will be on Teams chat. Can you go to the Teams chat and just say noted, all of you, just so that not here, separate on Teams chat. I created a group since there's only 4 of us. Okay, so anything important, I will communicate through Teams chat. So please keep checking your Teams chat. Okay, so for now, you can just indicate that you are aware of it. Just say, okay, noted, yes, or whatever, so that I know that you're on that Teams chat. Okay. So any questions? It's about 7 minutes already. Any questions? Please ask. It's a small group only. It's, to me, it's more like a tuition class. I never had this number before. Okay, but like I said, there's a plus and there's a minus. My concern is, I hope I hope the school doesn't say, oh, this is such a small number. Maybe I don't know. It's not in my hands. Okay, but personally, I prefer a smaller group. It's more like a tuition class. Okay. So Dhiran, any questions so far, Dhiran?
No.
Dhiran, Satya Mohan, any question?
No questions. No questions.
Okay. I hope the 4 of you won't drop this paper. You know why? Because we are such a small group. If it gets even smaller than this, then school might say need to shut down this class. Okay, I'm just voicing my concern on this. Okay, that's beyond me. I can't do anything about that. Because as it is, 4 is a very small number. Okay, so let's hope there's no. I'm just curious why this time so few taking this paper. Do you have any sort of feedback? You can share with me. No worries. I can take it. I can take it. Criticism or say lecturer is boring or whatever subject is boring or what. I'm surprised. I've been teaching this for this is my 5th year, but I've never had this such a small number. Which is not to say I'm complaining, no, but my worry is the school might decide to say, oh, this is so small, maybe we need to, I hope it doesn't get to that. Okay. All right, I think I have said enough about all these other matters. If there are no questions regarding, like, for example, I go back to my times page. Okay, so all the details are here. MI is there, the calendar is there. Pay attention to the important dates. Okay. And any questions, please ask me, because I've created a Teams chat group. You can post your questions there, and I always check the Teams chat page. Okay, so that's why I say quickly go to that Teams chat page and just say, okay, noted, sir, thank you, whatever. Then I'll know that you are on that group. Okay, so today we're going to start our first lecture. So I will show the slides. Let me see whether I'm on. I don't know whether you can see, but we'll try and. Okay, so you can see the slides. Either you can see the slides on times, or I prefer you to pay attention because shortly I'm going to start my lecture and I'll share my screen. Okay, so one more time, is there any questions you want to ask me? Because like I said, I just only have 1 hour to finish a few slides, so I would keep moving. Okay, so any questions in relation to the assessment or anything else? Okay, like I said just now, lecture of course is going to be online based on the timetable, but the tutorial will be face to face in campus. Okay. Right, so if there are no further questions, then I think I will start my lecture. Okay, I will share my slides. If you can, as I said, you can see it on times. So we have about 23 slides, so I would like to move along. Okay. So if you don't understand anything, just interrupt me. Just interrupt me. Okay, definition of public sector. So in this subject, the terms public sector and government are used interchangeably, meaning that when we say public sector, we are talking about the government. Okay. So in Malaysia, the government is formed through election. We have election every 5 years. We know what happened lah. I know what happened, you know what happened, but I'm not going to comment about that. But we are supposed to have election every 5 years. So why are we looking at public sector or the government sector? This is the part of the economy concerned with providing universal and critical services, like for example, national defense, healthcare, education, and so on. So of course, in education, we've got public institutions, government university, private universities, but the bulk of it is under the government, the public sector. That's why we have in Malaysia what they call as IPTS, IPTA. The IPTA refers to the government universities. So the key role of the public sector is to support the government's aspiration. Now, you know, in our system, we have election every 5 years. The ruling party might change. So we last for a long time. We had Barisan. Then in 2018, we had Pakatan Harapan. And then came to Perikatan Nasional. So whatever it is, okay, the ruling party might change in the election. However, the public sector is independent of the election result. So the public sector, whoever forms the government, will still be there. Okay, so because of this, the schools, university, hospital, police, army, air force, etc., they will continue the operation as usual. So if you are asked to define public sector, okay, define public sector, it comprises all those agencies that undertake activities which are considered to be the responsibility of the government, financed by the government through our money, taxpayer money, or by any institutions paid for by public money. You will come across this term in this subject, public money, which is actually taxpayers' money. Okay, so there's some very important concept to understand about public sector. All those agencies that undertake activities which are considered to be the responsibility of the government, are financed by the government, or are paid for by public money. So as I just said just now, public money refers to taxpayers' money. So what are some of the features of the public sector? Features. First one is it has more institutional stakeholders. Has more institutional stakeholders than the private sector. For example, they are answerable to Parliament, Auditor General, Cabinet. So they have more institutional stakeholders in the private sector. Okay. So whereas private sector, when we talk about stakeholders, we only talk about people like shareholders, suppliers, and so on and so forth. Okay. So the what do you call it, in the private sector, it's limited lah. The stakeholders are less, unlike the public sector. That's the first feature of public sector. The second feature is that it operates within a framework of public authorization and control. So all public sector bodies have one feature in common. Their powers are ultimately derived from Parliament. So in Malaysia, we have Parliament, we have two houses. Lower house is called Dewan Rakyat. Upper house is called Dewan Negara. Okay. Under this ultimate authority, there are varieties of formal and informal networks which have an impact on the way public organizations operate. So included in these networks, we have the ministers, we have local council, we have pressure groups, NGOs, and others. So this is another feature of public sector. It operates within a framework of public authorization and control. Okay, the third feature of public sector is that there's no direct financial interest or benefits to the contributors of resources. So the contributors of resources will not receive a direct or proportionate share of those organizations' goods and services. For example, you cannot go to any government department and say, I paid tax, I paid so much tax last year, I demand in return this amount of services from you. You can't do that. Okay, so there's no direct financial interest or benefits to the contributors of resources. Now, for example, individual taxpayers in Malaysia will not receive direct benefit from Inland Revenue Board. What we get is indirect benefit. For example, government provides education at all levels, primary, secondary, tertiary. Okay, government provides education at all levels. Provision of health services throughout the country. We have a hospital, HKL, Hospital Selayang, Hospital Serdang, Hospital Ipoh, Hospital Penang, and so on and so forth. And then we also have a clinic kesihatan daerah and so on. So this is health services. And then we have a continuous supply of clean water and all these other things. So this is the benefits we get from the public sector, for which we are paying through our tax. And then the public sector has more than one objective, plurality of objectives. Plural means singular means one, plural means more than one. So there are many objectives: political objective, economic objective, social objective, regulatory, technical, and performance of services often occurs on the basis of perceived need, rather than in response to strict market-related demand. So in Malaysia, this plurality of objectives of the government is clearly observed through setting up of different ministries with a variety of portfolios. So for example, you have the Ministry of Education, you have the Ministry of Health, you have the Ministry of Internal Affairs, you have Ministry of Foreign Affairs, you have so many different Ministry of Health, you have so many different ministries, and within these ministries, they have many different portfolios under a minister, a particular minister. So the fifth feature of public sector is its political rather than financial control. Okay, this is one of the important differences between the public sector and the private sector. Here you have political rather than financial control. So since the public sector is concerned with delivering social responsibilities to the public at large, the priority on resource allocation is generally governed by the priority set by the government. So the priority is set by the government of the day. Whoever is the government of the day, they will set the priority. So the national agenda sets the priority. It's not determined like by investment appraisal, return on asset, return on equity, and return on shareholders fund and all that kind of thing which they use in the private sector. So they don't look at it from the profitability criteria. Okay. So just to recap, there are 5 features. More institutional stakeholders, operates within a framework of public authorization and control. There's no direct financial interest or benefits to the contributors of resources. Like I just said, you cannot go to a government department and demand this and demand that. You can't say, like, for example, oh, I've paid so much of tax last year, and therefore in return I demand this from you. Okay, we get the benefits indirectly, not directly. Plurality of objectives, meaning more than one objective. Okay, plural, singular. Singular means one, plural means more than one. So they have more than one objective. And last but not least, the feature is its political control rather than financial control. Okay. So before I proceed further, I just want to ask, is there any question? I'm coming back to the Teams platform. Is there any question? Please, you can either, Tan, are you attending the class, Tan?
Yes. I'm listening.
Okay. So any questions, please ask. It's just a small group only. Otherwise, I assume I'll keep on moving. Okay. This is the chance for you to ask. If I don't hear anything, then
All
I'll
good
have.
from my side.
Yes, Tan, any question?
All good from my side, Mr. Shafi.
All good, huh? Okay. Okay, I'm happy to hear that. So since nobody is asking, I'm going to assume that you got no issues. Okay. Anyhow, we have a tutorial class, so you have to come prepared for tutorial class. So again, I repeat what I just said just now. This is 100% reading subject. So you must get the book. Okay, so if you don't want to pay 48 ringgit and get it from Shopee, which can understand, if you think it's too much to pay, I will give the names of those students who want to sell their book. Then you can talk to them, bargain with them, whatever, and get it maybe half price or whatever. It's up to the seller and buyer. Okay, but you need the book, textbook. All right. So if there are no questions, I'll keep moving. Okay, this is the definition of accounting. Okay, I don't think I need to spend too much time on this because you're already in SEM 4. Okay, you have been doing accounting from SEM 1, SEM 2, SEM 3, now in SEM 4. This is the generic definition of accounting. So accounting, when somebody asks you, well, let's say somebody who's not an accounting student or somebody who's a member of the public who has no background in accounting and says, okay, oh, you're an accounting student in Taylor's. Can you tell me what accounting is all about? And then you can, this is how you can explain to them. Okay? Accounting is a system of identifying, classifying, recording, summarizing, analyzing, and reporting of financial data and information of an organization in accordance with accepted principles, concepts, conventions, standards, and regulations. This is the generic definition. Generic means applies in the public sector and private sector. This is what I mean by generic. Okay, but since this subject is very specific subject, elective subject, which is looking at accounting in the public sector, which I just explained earlier, when we say public sector, it is synonymous with government. In other words, our module will study accounting in the government. How does it work in the government sector? Okay, this is why we call it as public sector accounting. So this definition is a generic definition, applies to both public and private. Now, our module, this module PSA, is a very specific module. Okay, it looks at accounting in the government sector. So if you ask to define, it is not appropriate to give this definition because this definition is a generic definition applicable in the both public and private sector. So a more appropriate definition would be this one. Public sector accounting is an accounting method practiced by non-profit entities in the public sector. Remember, we just said one of the features of the public sector is not profit motivated. They are not profit motivated, they are service motivated. Okay, they are service motivated. You see, they provide services. Okay, they are not looking at making profit. You see, it's concerned with delivering social responsibility to public at large. Priority and resource allocation is governed by priorities set by government, and the national agenda sets the priority not by any investment appraisal or profitability criteria like they have in the private sector. Okay, so this is the generic definition. This is the most specific definition. The definition that we've used in the government sector or public sector. So the main aim of public sector accounting is to establish a system for good public governance in managing public money. So this is the most important aim for us to study public sector accounting, because we want to make sure there is a good system of governance to manage public monies. Again and again, we'll come across this term. Once you get the book and I ask you to start reading the chapters, you will come across this term, public money. So public monies refers to taxpayers' money, which is the money collected by the government from all the Malaysian people who pay tax, including me, including you, including all the other 30 million plus people living in this country. Okay, so since we are paying tax, as a citizen, we have the right to know how our money is being spent. That is why we need to study this subject, public sector accounting. Okay, so basically accounting practices, again, this one is common to both public and private. Three major components. First thing, you have to maintain books and records. Without having a proper books and records, you will not know where the money is coming, where the money is going, and so on and so forth. So this is the first thing to do. So you must have a proper system of books and records. This applies whether in public or in private. And then from that, you have to prepare your reports and financial statements, just like in the private sector. But of course, the format is different. The format is different because here we are not focused on making money. It's not profit. We're not looking at the bottom line. We're not looking at return on asset, return on investment, return on equity. No, that's not our focus. And last but not least, we have to make sure it complies with rules and regulations. So once you study this subject, you will realize that in this module, there are lots of rules and regulations. So that's the reason why I would insist that you get the textbook. Okay, you need to get the textbook because in this subject we have lots of rules and regulations. Why? Because we need to safeguard the money, because the money comes from the taxpayers. Although the government always says we are spending this, we are spending that, we're spending this, and so on. You read the newspaper, they make announcement here and there, but at the end of the day, this money is from the taxpayers. So the government needs to account to the taxpayers, you, me, and all the other 30+ million people living in Malaysia, how they are spending the money. That is the reason why we need to study this subject. Okay, so this is a very important slide. Please pay attention. This is a very important slide. So you can see there are 3 parts in this slide. Okay, on the left you see these systems and procedures. At the very top is the Federal Constitution. Then you have Financial Procedure Act 1957, Audit Act 1957, TI, TC, Government Accounting Standard, Malaysian Public Sector Accounting Standard, International Public Sector Accounting Standard. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. These are what we call the rules and regulations. So when you talk about rules and regulations in public sector, we are referring to what you see on the left of this slide, financial systems and procedures. So again and again in this module, we'll be coming back to this. So every time in the government sector, we want to spend money or we want to authorize expenditure, we have to check whether it complies with the Federal Constitution, Financial Procedure Act 1957. So why 1957? Very easy to remember. It was the year that we got independence. Merdeka is 1957. So if you, for example, you can't remember which year was this, just remember Merdeka 1957. So you have Financial Procedure Act 1957, you have Audit Act 1957, TI, Treasury Instruction, TC, Treasury Circular, Government Accounting Standard, PPK is the bahasa acronym in Bahasa, but in English we say as Government Accounting Standard. Then you have Malaysian Public Sector Accounting Standard, International Public Sector Accounting Standard. So these are the financial system and procedures. So just like in private sector, we have to do the budgeting first. Okay, so for in this module, budgeting is very important. We'll spend about 3 to 4 weeks looking at budgeting in detail. Then accounting, and then after accounting, auditing. This is the normal cycle. This is the normal cycle. Budgeting, accounting, auditing. See the flow of the arrow, it goes from bottom to up. So budgeting, accounting, auditing. Then we have regulatory bodies. The most important regulatory body in Malaysia is Parliament. Parliament. So we have 2 houses of Parliament in Malaysia. The lower house or Dewan Rakyat, upper house Dewan Negara. So anything involving money in the government must be passed by Parliament. Must be passed by Parliament. So Parliament is the most important regulatory body. Like I just said, in BM we call it as Dewan Rakyat, Dewan Negara. Then we have Treasury, and the next 2 are very, very important positions in the government. Accountant General, or what they call in BM as Ketua Accountant Negara, and Auditor General as what they call in BM as Ketua Audit Negara. Okay, so this is a very important slide. I want you all to pay attention to this slide when you're doing your studies. Okay, again and again we'll come back to this. So we have the system and procedures, and then we also have all the regulatory bodies. In the middle we have the flow chart showing the flow of the work. It starts with budgeting, then it goes to accounting, and finally it goes to auditing. So in case I'm going too fast, I'll just come back again. Any questions? Then you can ask me. I'll try to answer you if I can before I keep moving. I don't know whether you understand, you're listening, sleeping, or whatever. If you want any questions, you can ask. Otherwise, I'll keep moving. It's already 1:30. I only got 30 minutes more. I'm sorry about that, but this semester's lecture is only 1 hour. Okay. But anyhow, don't worry. If you can't understand something, bring it up in a tutorial class, because we have to do it face to face. So you can see me face to face in campus, hopefully next week. And then whatever you don't understand, ask me in the tutorial class. Okay, don't just keep quiet. Don't wait till the end of semester and tell me, oh sir, I didn't understand this, I don't understand that. So when we finish one topic, anything related to that topic, ask there and then we move to the next chapter. Okay, so I really have to move. I think I'll try and finish off all the slides if I can today, so that tutorial we can focus on answering the questions. Okay, so what are the differences between the public sector and private sector? As I said, the main difference is in the public sector is not to make money, not to make profit, but to meet legislative requirements. These are the akta which are passed by parliament. Okay, akta, in Malay we call it akta, in English we call it act. And then to serve the public through social commitment. This is public sector. Social commitment, hospitals, schools, police, army, navy, blah, blah, blah. This is public sector. Private sector, okay, private sector is maintain the capital, make profit, and then once you make profit, to distribute the profit to the owners. It could be in the form of a dividend, or it could be in the form of capital gain. And some of the profit keep for future growth. I think that you know by now. Okay, I've been doing accounting from SEM 1, SEM 2, SEM 3, come to SEM 4. All the accounting that you did before this was about private sector. So this is the first time you are taking accounting in the government sector. So as we proceed during the semester, you will be able to see for yourself the big difference between accounting in the private sector and accounting in the public sector. Okay. So then we look at the powers of the government. Okay, what are the powers of the government? Basically, there are three main powers. Legislative power. This is the power to make law. Power to make law is with the parliament. Like I said, we have two houses, lower house, upper house, Dewan Rakyat, Dewan Negara. Then we have the judiciary. These are the people who, when you have a problem, you go to them, okay, by the magistrate, sessions court, high court, and so on and so forth. There's the judiciary. We call it the judiciary. Then we have the executive power. This is the prime minister and all the ministers and all the senior civil servants. These are the people who carry out the work. We chose them, we voted for them, then they have to work for us. So these are the powers of the government. There are three arms, three wings. Legislative power, the power to make law. Judicial power, the power to adjudicate. If there is any dispute, you bring the dispute to court and then they will adjudicate. And finally, executive power. Executive power is the power to carry out what has been decided, and you just follow the instructions. Basically, the civil service. The civil service will carry out the instructions. Okay, they are not politicians. Civil servants are not politicians. Okay. So powers of the government in Malaysia, we have three levels of government: federal government, state government, local government. Okay, I repeat, three levels of government. Federal government based in Putrajaya, state government depending on which state you are. If you're in Selangor, it is in Shah Alam. If you are in Negeri Sembilan, it is in Seremban. If you're in Perak, Ipoh, and so on. So we have a federal government, we have a state government. We also have a local government. So where you are staying, if you're staying in MBSA, you come under MBSA. If you are staying in MPPJ, you come under MPPJ. If you are staying in Majlis Perbandaran Klang, you come under MBK. So that is the local government. So we have three wings or three levels of government in Malaysia. Okay, and those in the judicial legislature should not be involved in the executive and the judiciary, meaning that there's a separation. We have separation between the legislative, the judiciary, and the executive. So why we have this concept? The separation of powers concept means that nobody in the government should have absolute power, meaning that we have a system of checks and balances. A system of checks and balances. So the main idea of establishing such an administrative procedure is to ensure a just and fair government as well as to avoid injustice. Now, like I just said, legislative power is the power to make new laws, to amend existing law, or to repeal existing law. The second is to levy taxes or to change existing taxes. Like for example, we always look forward to the budget because they make an announcement. What are the new taxes coming, and are they going to raise the what you call excise duty for cigarette, for drink, for this, for that? So all this comes under legislative power, and then to sanction expenditure of public money. To sanction expenditure of public money. So public money is taxpayer money. Often, if you're not educated, you think, oh, this government can do whatever they like. No, cannot. It's our money, taxpayer money. So they need to sanction the expenditure of public money. Okay? Otherwise, they cannot spend that money. It doesn't belong to them. So the authority to make law in Malaysia is in the federal constitution under Article 44. Okay, so supreme law in Malaysia is the federal constitution. You must remember that this is very, very basic in public sector accounting. The supreme law in Malaysia is federal constitution. So if you go and refer to federal constitution, it's a huge document. So you can look in that. You can just Google. You can find the document in the internet. You look under Article 44. It's clearly mentioned that the legislative authority of the federation, or the power of the federation to make law, is vested in the parliament. So like I just said just now, parliament in Malaysia is two houses. Lower house, Dewan Rakyat. Upper house, Dewan Negara. That is at federal level. At state level, we have state legislative assembly. For example, if you are in Selangor, it is Dewan Undangan Negeri Selangor. If it is in Pahang, Dewan Undangan Negeri Pahang. If you are in Negeri Sembilan, Dewan Undangan Negeri. So in English, that is called the State Legislative Assembly. So they can make law for the state only. For example, Dewan Undangan Negeri Perak can only make law for the state of Perak. Okay. So federal level, the law, the power to make law is vested in the parliament. This power is given in Article 44 of the Federal Constitution. So Parliament consists of the Yang di-Pertuan Agong and the two houses of Parliament known as the Senate, Dewan Negara, and the House of Representatives, Dewan Rakyat. So as the legislative authority of the federal government, Parliament makes laws applicable to the federation as a whole. Now Malaysia is a federation. Malaysia is a federation of Semenanjung Malaysia, Peninsula Malaysia, Sabah, Sarawak. So that's why you call it federation. So federal government makes law for the whole of Malaysia. Federation, when they say federation here, refers to the Federation of Malaysia. So Parliament also controls the finances of the government. So the party that wins the majority of seats in the general election is able to command the majority support in the House of Representatives, or the Dewan Rakyat shall form the government. That is our system here in Malaysia. So whichever party, like before a long time we had Barisan, then 2018 we had Pakatan Harapan, and then they had some ding dong, and then for a while we had Perikatan Nasional. So whoever controls the majority of seats in the parliament will form the government. Okay, that is our system. So the leader of the party, the majority party, who commands a confidence of the majority of member of the House of Representatives or Dewan Rakyat, shall be the Prime Minister. That is our system in Malaysia. Okay, now we look at executive power. Remember I mentioned there are three arms of government, three arms: legislative, judiciary, executive. Now we look at the second arm, executive. So executive power is the power to formulate policies which will be implemented by government agencies. So government agencies, they just have to implement. They have no authority to make law or to make policy. They just implement, carry out what is instructed to them. That's all. So this executive power is given under Article 39 of the Federal Constitution. So like I said again and again, in this subject we will come back to Federal Constitution because that is the supreme law in Malaysia. So if you check Article 39, it says the executive power for the federal government is vested in the Yang di-Pertuan Agong and is exercised by him or by the cabinet led by the Prime Minister. That is at federal level. At state level, executive power at state level is in the hands of the ruler of the state. Some states have Sultan, some states have Yang di-Pertuan Negeri, and whatever it is, okay, depending on which state you are from. And then they have what they call Exco Kerajaan Negeri. State Executive Council. So this is at state level. Okay, these are the people who execute, who carry out, who implement the government's policies. This is the executive. So Prime Minister must be a member of the House of Representatives who, in the opinion of the Agong, commands the majority in Parliament. And the Cabinet is chosen from among members of both Houses of Parliament and is responsible to Parliament. So they have to answer to Parliament. Whatever action they take, they have to answer to Parliament. So Minister will hold different portfolios. Okay, we have a Minister of Health, we have a Minister of Transport, we have a Minister of Communication, we have a Minister of Defense, Foreign Affairs, and so on. Okay, they have a different portfolio. They are collectively responsible for all decisions made by Cabinet. The Cabinet is the highest policy-making body in the country. Remember that, in Malaysia, the highest policy-making body is the Cabinet. And the Cabinet is under the Prime Minister. So this whole slide talks about the executive power. The people who have the executive power, meaning they have the power to carry out whatever policies, instructions decided by the government of the day. Decided by the government of the day. Last but not least, judicial power. Judicial power is the power to hear and determine either civil or criminal matter between two parties. So depending on whether yours is a criminal matter or a civil matter, okay, you have to bring it to court, and then the judges or the magistrate or the sessions court will decide. Okay, this is the judicial power. So they will pronounce on the legality of any legislative or executive act and procedures. So they will, the judges will decide whether this is legal or not legal. Okay, so you need to bring it to court. So this is what's called the judiciary. So these powers given to them under Article 121 to 131A of the Federal Constitution. So a very important document in public sector is the Federal Constitution, which I've said before is the supreme law in Malaysia. So any law which conflicts with the Federal Constitution is null and void. Is null and void, meaning that it cannot be implemented because it is null and void. So if you have any issue with any particular law, you think that it conflicts with the Federal Constitution, you can test this. How can you test this? You can bring a case. You can take a legal matter, bring it to court, and then the judges will make their judgment and tell you whether it is legal or illegal. Okay, so this is what we mean by judicial power. Okay, so in Malaysia we have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is a pyramid type of structure. Okay, so these are the lower courts. These are the higher courts. Okay, so magistrates court is the first level. The second level is sessions court. Now this is called a juvenile court. For example, the offender is below 18 years of age, so cannot bring to the magistrate court. You have to bring to the juvenile court. Okay, so juvenile court is a special court only for those underage offenders. Most of the time it starts in magistrate court, then go to sessions court. These are the subordinate court, and these are the higher court, superior court. Start with the high court in Malaya, the high court in Sabah, Sarawak, then you have court of appeal, and then federal court. Now this special court here was set up during the time of Tun Mahathir, where he set up this court to try those members of the royalty. Okay, special court just to try those members of royalty. Most of the time we don't have anything to do with this. Okay, it's a special court set up to try members of the royalty. Okay, so in normal cases, any matter will go up to federal court. The highest is federal court. So once a judgment is made in federal court, it is final, muktamad. Okay, you cannot appeal anymore. So at this level, you can still appeal here, appeal. But once come to here, and the judges, I think that at any one time is 5-member bench or 6-member bench. I forget whether it's or is it 9? But once they have decided the matter, then it becomes final. No more appeal after that. Okay, so judicial power and constitution of courts in Malaysia. So this one, I think I won't spend time going through this in here. I takut nanti cannot finish the lecture. But as I've already uploaded the slides on time, so please go through. So like I said, you have the high courts, Their power are given in the Article 121. And the Constitution, of course, the power is given in Article 122, 122A, 22A. So High Courts, what is their power? Court of Appeal, what is the power? Federal Court, what is the power? Okay, who are the people here? For example, in the Court of Appeal, you have a chairman and you have 32 other judges. For High Court, in total, there's not more than 60 High Court judges in the High Court of Malaya. In the High Court of Sabah and Sarawak, not more than 13. All of this is mentioned in detail in the Federal Constitution. So whenever you see this term article, you know it refers to the Federal Constitution. Okay. So in the case of the Federal Court, which I just said is the highest court in Malaysia, okay, Federal Court. Once a matter comes to Federal Court, we can and it's decided here, so it's final. No more appeal after that. Okay. So in the Federal Court, you have the President, you have the Chief Justice, you have the Court of Appeal President, Chief Judge of High Court, 11 other judges. These are the people who make up the Federal Court. So this is the structure of the judiciary in Malaysia. Okay. Now the Judicial Federal Court has the jurisdiction to hear appeal from the Court of Appeal or from the High Court. Okay. So as I just explained earlier, it works like this. Okay. You go up like a pyramid structure here. You have your matter start here, goes to here. Okay, not happy, appeal here, not happy, appeal here. Once come to here, final. Okay, can do anything already. So these courts have the judicial power as conferred to them by federal law. So the Court of Appeal shall have the jurisdiction to hear appeal or decision from High Court. If somebody goes to High Court and then the decision is against them, they're not happy, they can go to Court of Appeal. If after Court of Appeal still not happy, they don't get a decision in their favor, they can go to the Federal Court. Once come to Federal Court, then the decision is final. No more appeal after that. Okay. So to enable the judiciary to function impartially and fairly, that means don't take side. The judiciary must be independent. Okay, I think I'm done with this lecture. So now question time. I'm coming back to my Teams. Tan, I still cannot see your face, lah, Tan. Tan. Can you switch on your camera? So any questions?
Yeah, sorry. I'm still eating.
Still eating?
Yeah, because my mom cooked quite late. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
But I'm still listening to the class. Yeah.
Okay. No mind. So any question? I'm sorry, I'm rushing through because you know this time we have 1 hour lecture every Thursday. Don't miss it. I'm sorry, there's no Gwastan, only going forward. No going back, going forward. Otherwise, cannot finish my syllabus. So I really request you to get the book. Now this SEM, lucky for you, the student of half a dozen have already sent me message. They want to sell their book. So I'll give you their names, an email, mobile number. You please call them yourself and you do your bargaining with them. Okay. They want a half price, wanted price, whatever. I don't want to involve in that. I just give you their names and their contact details. So please try to get a book. Okay. This time we only have 4, so it should be no problem. Everybody should be able to get a book. So I've already slide has already been. Let me just double check. Is it on times or not? Yeah, if I go to times here, you can see the slides have already been put up here. Wait. Week one. Yeah, introduction to public sector. Okay, you can see the slides here. Please go through them. And this is the book, Public Sector Accounting Malaysian Context. So I will send you the contact names remember I told you I created a Teams chat, so please keep checking that one. Okay, anything important, I will put it there in the Teams chat. Okay. So any question, please ask. Anything you want to know? Because this time is a very small group. It's almost like a tuition class. I know I was going through very fast because it's already 1:50, so I want to have time for question and answers. Okay, so just to recap what I just said just now. Okay, so you are now in SEM 4. Okay, you're now in SEM 4. For SEM 1, SEM 2, SEM 3, all the accounting subject that you have taken is in the private sector. Okay, Private sector, their mindset is different. Their mindset is different. Profit. What is my profit? What is my bottom line? What is my return on capital? What is my return on investment? How much is my capital gain? How much my share price increase? This is the criteria by which they are judged. Are my shareholder happy with me or not? Who are my important stakeholders? My shareholders. Otherwise, they might say, I want to sell the share of this company, useless company, not getting any profit, not getting any dividend. So that is a private sector. Once you come to this class once a week on Thursday, okay, you take your private sector hat, throw away, put the public sector hat on, because it's totally different. Here we are going to look at accounting in the government sector. So just to recap the earlier lecture just now, the focus is very different. It's about taxpayers' money. How the government operate? By collecting tax. Okay, now we are coming to end of March. Today is the last day in March. So from tomorrow onwards, you will see everybody in Malaysia, the citizens will be busy with submitting their tax returns. If I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the deadline is 30th of April. You have to submit your tax return online to LHDN, Lembaga Hasil Dalam Negeri. So they collect the tax from all the citizens in this country. And we need to know how they spend the money. At the end of the day, it is our money, taxpayer money. So we need to know. We have the right to know. Okay. So by learning this subject, you will get some idea of how the government money is being spent. What are the system? What are the procedures put in place to ensure that it's not abused? I'm not saying it's not being abused. I'm sure you know many scandals. Okay, you can tell me this, tell me that. I know about it. You know about it. But that is not the way it is supposed to happen. Not supposed to be that way, because it's very clear in Malaysia. We have federal constitution. The federal constitution of Malaysia is the supreme law in this country. Okay. Anything and everything that is important is mentioned in the federal constitution. And federal constitution cannot be amended unless the ruling party has a 2/3 majority in parliament. Cannot be amended. So that's why we have got a system of checks and balances. We have three important arms of government. Three important arms. The first is the legislative arm, which is the Dewan Rakyat, Dewan Negara. They make the law. Before they make the law, there's a lot of procedure. They go to ding dong, debate, argue in parliament. So whoever has the majority, they can pass the law. But still, don't forget, still need to get the signature of the Agong. Before it becomes law in Malaysia, it need to get the signature of the Agong. The Agong doesn't sign, it cannot be a law. So these are our systems of checks and balances. This is the legislative. Dewan Rakyat, from Dewan Rakyat go to Dewan Negara, Dewan Negara go to Agong. Baru jadi law. Okay, so that's legislative. Then we have judiciary, the judges. We have seen, I just showed you the slide. The 5-tier, we have a 5-tier judiciary in Malaysia. Subordinate court, lower courts, superior courts. Lower court, basically we have the magistrate court, sessions court. These are the lower courts. Then the superior court, high court, court of appeal, federal court. Okay, the other two is special case like juvenile court for children, and the special court is for the royalty. And we can forget about it. But for most cases, it's just a 5-tier pyramid kind of structure in judiciary. It starts from the bottom, it goes up. So one more thing you need to keep in mind: each time you go up and up and up, the cost gets more and more higher. You need to file your case in the court. Filing got fee. Okay, lawyer fee, this fee, that fee. Okay, so the higher you go, the cost becomes higher. If you are lucky, you win the case, the judge says, okay, you avoided costs, meaning whatever you pay, we reimburse you. Hello? Yeah. Can you call me back in 5 minutes? I'm having class now. I'll finish at 2. You call me by 5 minutes. I'm having a class now. And then I talk. Okay. Okay. So I'm just recapping what we said earlier. Okay, we have the legislative branch of government. We have the judicial branch of government, and last but not least, we have the executive. Executive, they don't make law, they don't make policy, they just carry out. They just carry out only. The government servant, the public servant, the civil servants. They cannot bangkang. They cannot say, no, I don't want. Okay, like recently you heard some case of some guy, I think police or army, I forgot where, he refused to get the vaccinated, right? He said, no, I don't want to get vaccinated. So they sacked him from the army. He lost his pension, lost everything. So you cannot say, no, I don't want, because the government policy says that you must get first jab, second jab, booster. Otherwise, no, go. He put the case, he tried to bring his case to court, but he lost. Okay, so also I think another case involving, is it university lecturer or teacher? Same thing, she refused. Even we have one case, I don't want to mention her name, our lecturer also, she refused. So TU said, okay, you don't wanna, never mind, thank you, you can go. Your contract is not renewed. So they have the authority. Okay, so likewise in the government, if you don't want to bangkang, you don't want to agree, the government say, okay, you can go, right? We don't want you. So the third is the executive. So you have the legislative, we have the judiciary, with the executive. And then the other thing is we have in Malaysia 3 levels of government. Federal government based in Putrajaya. State government, depending on which state you are staying. Okay, I think most of you are in Selangor state, I guess in Selangor. So your state government is in Shalam. Your Dewan Undangan Negeri is in Shalam. If you're from Perak, your Dewan Undangan Negeri is in Ipoh. If you're from Pahang, your Dewan Undangan Negeri is in Kuantan. Okay, that's the state government. And the third level of government is local government. Depends where you stay. You're staying in KL area, it's DBKL. If you're staying in PJ, MPPJ. If you're staying in Subang Jaya, MPSJ. If you're staying in Shalam, MBSA. If you're staying in Klang, MPK. So it's local government. So we have 3 levels of government in Malaysia. Okay. So basically, this is what I covered today. So you can go through the slides. Okay, there were 23 slides as now. And then any questions, you can bring it up during the tutorial class. Okay. So like I said, I will please anything, keep checking the Teams chat. Okay, I will update the details in the Teams chat. The next thing after this I will do is I will put in the names of those students who contacted me. They say they want to sell their book. I will put their name and their mobile number, so you can contact them directly. So try to get the book soon. And the other very important thing is try to download AI Proctor. Okay, once you have downloaded, you can then try to answer the tutorial question, because without AI Proctor you cannot answer tutorial question. Because it's better we get familiar with this now, okay, rather than waiting to the exam, then got this issue, that issue, all kind of issues. So any issue now, we can sort it out. You can send your email query to ICT to help you solve this problem. Okay, not just for my subject, for all other subjects. In School of Accounting and Finance, we have decided that this final exam is going to be held on the platform AI Proctor. Okay, so basically I'm done for today. If there are no further questions, then I think I will end my lecture for today. So if there are no further questions, I will end my lecture here.